The champagne glass in James's hand slipped and shattered against the floor, just as mine had months earlier when all of this began. The room erupted into chaos. James stumbled back from my sister Linda, his face stricken with disbelief. Linda reached for him, tears streaking her cheeks, her wedding dress now looking like something she had no right to wear. "James, please let me explain." "Explain?" His voice wavered. "Explain what? That you slept with your sister's husband, that you might be carrying a child that isn't mine." Darren, my husband, pushed through the crowd toward me. "Linda," he began, caught between us, frozen in place like he'd forgotten his lines. "Is it true?" James demanded, seizing Darren by the lapels. "Did you sleep with my wife?" Darren's silence said enough. James's fist met his jaw with a sharp crack that echoed through the ballroom. Darren collapsed, blood spilling onto the polished white floor. "James, no," Linda cried, but he was already walking away, forcing his way past stunned guests. My parents stood still, my mother's hand covering her mouth, my father's face dark with anger. The photographer continued snapping photos, recording every moment of the disaster. The band had gone silent, instruments hanging idle. My name is Grace, and this is the story of how I exposed the two people I loved most, armed only with the truth they never thought I'd find. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which country you're watching from. We love hearing from our global audience. If you're new here, please subscribe, it helps our channel grow. Let's get started. 7 months before my sister's wedding, I thought I had it all: a charming colonial home with white shutters and a wraparound porch, a fulfilling job as a pediatric nurse, and most of all, a husband who still made my heart race after 8 years of marriage. Darren was the kind of man women noticed: tall, sandy brown hair falling perfectly across his forehead, green eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He had a way of making you feel like the only person in the room. At least, he used to. Every morning he'd greet me with, "Morning, beautiful," before heading to his law firm downtown. We had our routines, our private jokes, our Thursday night wine and movie tradition. To the outside world, we were the couple to envy, but perfect facades crack. Ours had been showing fractures for months. It started small: late nights at work, turned into weekends away. Date nights were cancelled for client dinners. His phone, once left on the counter, now had a passcode. When I asked, he brushed it off: new firm policy, confidential client information. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was Darren, the man who cared for me through food poisoning on our honeymoon, who wept harder than I did when we lost our first pregnancy, who once promised soaking wet in the rain after a silly argument that he'd never be the man to hurt me. Promises, I would learn, can be just pretty words. My younger sister Linda was my opposite. I was steady, she was impulsive. My brown bob was practical. Her blonde waves looked straight out of a shampoo ad. I became a nurse to help people. She became an Instagram influencer because she liked being in front of the camera. Despite our differences, we were close: Sunday brunches at our parents' house, shopping trips where she tried to push me toward bolder choices, late night calls when neither of us could sleep. "You got the brains, I got the beauty," she'd joke. Though she was smart too, just in a different way. When she announced her engagement to James, a tech entrepreneur she'd been dating for 2 years, I was genuinely happy. James grounded her without dulling her spark. "I want you as my maid of honor," she said, bouncing on my couch. "And Darren can be a groomsman. It'll be perfect." That word again, perfect. The wedding planning took over our lives: dress fittings, cake tastings, venue tours. Darren grumbled about his tux fitting, but went along, charming the seamstress in the process. "Your husband is such a catch," Linda remarked one afternoon while we chose flowers. "James is great, but Darren, he's got that polished lawyer thing going on." Something flickered in her expression then, a shadow I quickly dismissed. I was good at believing convenient lies back then. The first real sign came at her engagement party at garden celebration at our parents' house with fairy lights and flowing champagne. While refilling the cheese platter in the kitchen, I overheard Darren's low, intimate laugh on the back porch, the kind that used to be reserved for me, paired with Linda's breathy giggle. "You can't say things like that," she teased. "Why not?" "It's true," Darren replied. I stepped outside, platter in hand. They were standing too close, tension in the space between them. "There you are," I said with forced cheer. "People are looking for the bride to be." They quickly stepped apart. "Just getting some air," Linda said without meeting my gaze. Darren was telling me about that case he won. The Brett case, I asked. I thought that was confidential. Just the boring parts, Darren said smoothly before they walked back inside, leaving me alone with the cheese platande, a sick feeling in my gut. I told myself I was imagining things, but the mind collects evidence even when the heart refuses to see it. Over the next few months, the signs piled up small on their own, but damning together. Darren's late-night gym sessions, Linda's sudden interest in legal dramas, despite James working in tech, both missing Sunday brunch, on the same weekends, Darren smiling at texts that weren't mine, Linda wearing a perfume I recognized but couldn't place. I began noticing everything he's spending, their body language, their careful distance in public. It was like watching two actors play a part. My mother noticed me watching Darren and Linda as they reviewed wedding cake designs. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Everything's perfect," I replied, though I disliked that word more each day. She patted my hand. "Wedding planning is stressful for everyone. Just remember, Linda needs your support. Being a bride is overwhelming." I nodded, playing the role of the supportive sister. But internally, unease was starting to grow, not suspicion yet, but the kind of uncertainty that leads there. 3 weeks before the wedding, I went for my annual checkup and ran into Dr. Patricia Morse in the hospital hallway. She'd been Linda's gynecologist since college, and we'd become friendly over the years. "Grace," she greeted warmly. "How's the wedding planning?" "Linda must be thrilled." "She's over the moon," I said. "Though honestly, I'll be glad when it's over. I'm exhausted." Patricia smiled. "I can imagine. Big weddings are a lot of work." She lowered her voice. "I probably shouldn't say this, but make sure she takes it easy first trimester and all." The words stopped me cold. "First trimester?" I asked. Daughter expression changed instantly. "Oh, she hasn't told you. I assumed the family knew." "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. "I just didn't realize you knew. Linda's private about these things." Patricia seemed relieved and walked away. I stood in the quiet hospital corridor, processing what I'd heard. Linda was she hadn't told me. But the real shock was the timing. 3 weeks before the wedding meant conception lined up with the engagement party the night on the porch with Darren. I told myself I was being unreasonable. James, her fiancé, must be the father. But the doubt wouldn't leave. I began looking for answers carefully, without leaving traces. Darren's home office was locked, but I'd had a spare key made years ago. His computer was password protected, but he still used our anniversary date. His emails showed nothing. The browser history was clean. Then I remembered people often forget about cloud backups. I checked his synced photos, thousands of them, work events, family gatherings, dinners. Then I saw a folder labeled Legal Research. Inside were photos unrelated to work: Linda at the beach, the two of them in a hotel bar, her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist, and then the photo that confirmed everything, a positive pregnancy test, taken 2 weeks after the engagement party, time-stamped in our bedroom. I closed everything carefully, erased any trace of my search, and locked the door. Then I went to the bathroom and was sick. The next 2 weeks became an act of control. I smiled through breakfasts, kissed Darren goodbye, helped Linda with final wedding details, attended the rehearsal dinner, and even gave a heartfelt speech on love and loyalty. "Grace is the best sister anyone could ask for," Linda said afterward, hugging me. I felt the slight swell of her stomach against mine, my husband's child inside my sister. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Any pre-wedding jitters? Nausea?" She pulled back slightly. "Why would you ask about nausea?" "Just curious. Lots of brides get nervous stomachs." She smiled. "No, I'm fine." "Perfect." That word again. Later that night, Darren found me on the hotel balcony. "Beautiful speech," he said, handing me a glass of wine. "You think so?" I asked. "Made me fall in love with you all over again," he said, kissing my temple. I forced myself not to react. Things had been tense between us lately. Work had been overwhelming, but Darren suggested that after this wedding, we take a vacation, just the two of us, and start fresh. "That sounds nice," I replied, sipping my wine, which tasted bitter on my tongue. He slipped his arm around me as we gazed at the city lights appearing like the perfect couple, sharing a perfect moment. Inside, I wondered if he could sense the anger simmering beneath my calm exterior, but Darren saw only what he wanted to see. "I love you," he said. "I know," I replied, the last honest thing. I would say to him. The wedding morning arrived, bright and clear, ideal weather for an ideal day. I helped Linda into her mermaid-style gown, a design that would hide her pregnancy for a few more weeks. Her something old was our grandmother's pearl necklace. Her something new was the child she carried. Her something borrowed was my husband. And her something blue was the garter James had chosen. "You look beautiful," I told her, both because it was true and because that's what sisters say. "I'm so happy," she said, blinking back tears to protect her makeup. "This is exactly how I dreamed it would be." "Is it?" I asked, adjusting her veil. "Everything you dreamed of?" She hesitated, just for a moment. "Of course. Why would you ask that?" "No reason. Just making sure my little sister is getting what she deserves." She hugged me carefully so as not to crease her dress. "I love you, Grace." "I love you too," I answered. And I meant it, despite everything. That was the hardest truth. I still loved them both, even as I prepared for their downfall. Photographer arrived, wanting bridal party shots. I posed and smiled, the image of the supportive sister, all while counting down the hours until the reception, my moment. The ceremony was held in a historic church downtown, with stained glass windows and vaulted ceilings. Over 300 guests filled the pews, a mix of pastel dresses and dark suits. I walked down the aisle first, bouquet in hand. Darren stood at the altar with the groomsmen, looking sharp in his tux. He winked as I passed. The music shifted, and everyone stood for Linda. She seemed radiant, glowing beyond the skill of her makeup artist. James's eyes filled with tears as he watched her walk toward him, this good man, unaware of what she carried. The minister began. Dearly beloved, words about love, honor, and forsaking all others echoed through the church. I looked at Darren during that part. His eyes were on Linda, with the same look he once reserved for me. When the rings were exchanged, James's hands trembled slightly, while Linda's remained perfectly steady. "You may kiss the bride," the minister declared, and applause filled the church. I clapped too, smiling, still the loyal sister, still the devoted wife, yet ready to ignite the moment I'd been waiting for. The reception took place at the Riverside Country Club, an elegant setting with chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows, over the water, ice sculptures, a 10-piece band, and flowers on every surface. Darren and I sat at the head table with the wedding party. His touches, once welcome now, made my skin crawl. "You look beautiful tonight," he murmured over the salad. "Do I?" I asked. "As beautiful as the bride," he said with a laugh, missing the edge in my tone. "No one's as beautiful as the bride on her wedding day. That's the rule." "Ah, yes, the rules," I replied. "You've always been good at following those." He gave me a questioning glance but turned away as the best man began his speech. The toasts went on, light-hearted stories about James and Linda, wishes for their future, while I waited for the part of the night that truly mattered to me. Future happiness, jokes about children, and growing old together. Those were the themes of the last speech. I noticed Linda's hand rest briefly on her stomach during that part. Then, it was my turn. I stood, lightly tapping my champagne flute with a spoon. The room fell silent as hundreds of eyes turned toward me. "Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Grace, Linda's older sister and maid of honor." Polite applause followed, and I waited for it to fade. Linda and I have shared every stage of life, childhood adventures, teenage setbacks, and adult challenges. I've seen her grow from the mischievous little girl who used to steal my Halloween candy into the confident woman standing before us today. Linda smiled at me, eyes already glistening. If only she knew. When she first introduced James, I knew he was different. The way he looked at her, made her laugh, and brought out the best in her, while loving her as she was. That's rare. That kind of genuine love is hard to find. I paused, letting the sentiment land. James was smiling. Darren looked at me with pride. Linda dabbed at her eyes. "But the thing about love," I continued evenly, "is that it rests on trust. Complete, absolute trust. The kind where you can share your deepest fears, your biggest dreams, and your most private thoughts." The room was now completely still. "Linda has always been skilled at keeping secrets," I said, smiling at her. "Even as a child, she was better at it than anyone I knew, maybe too good." A faint ripple of laughter moved through the crowd, and Linda's smile shifted slightly. "But tonight, as we celebrate, my toast is not to secrets but to truth, to honesty, to the courage it takes to build a life together on openness." I raised my glass. "Here's to James and Linda, May your marriage stand on a foundation of truth. May there be no secrets between you. And may you always remember that those who love you most deserve your honesty, even when it's difficult. The crowd lifted their glasses. I sat down, heart pounding. That was just the prelude. The rest would come later. Darren leaned in and kissed my cheek. Beautiful speech, baby. You always know what to say. I learned from the best, I said, giving his hand a firm squeeze. The band began the first dance, and James led Linda onto the floor. They swayed beneath the soft lights, the image of newlywed happiness. The photographer circled, capturing every detail. They look happy, Darren whispered. Looks can be deceiving, I replied. When the traditional dances ended, the floor opened to everyone. Darren pulled me up to dance. I meant what I said earlier, he murmured as we moved. About the trip, maybe Hawaii or Paris. Somewhere far away, I asked. Somewhere we can just be ourselves. Somewhere we can pretend to be different people, I countered. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just wedding stress. It's over now, he pointed out. You can relax. Oh, Darren, I said quietly. It's just beginning. Before he could respond, someone tapped his shoulder. Linda stood there, radiant. Mind if I borrow him for a dance? I want to share a dance with everyone I care about tonight. Of course, I said, stepping back. I need to freshen up anyway. I watched them move on to the dance floor, their distance measured but telling. To most, it was simply a bride, dancing with her brother-in-law, but I noticed the tremor in his hand at her waist. The way she bit her lip at his words, and how they glanced around to check for eyes. I was always watching now. I didn't actually go to the bathroom. Instead, I went to the bar for a shot of whiskey, then another. I needed composure for what was next. Rough night, the bartender asked. You have no idea, I replied. A hand rested on my shoulder. My mother, elegant in navy blue. Darling, are you all right? You seem tense. Just emotional, I said. My little sister is married. I know, seems like yesterday she was running around in pigtails. My mother's eyes softened. At least there will be grandchildren to look forward to soon. The whiskey burned as it went down. Sooner than you think, I murmured. What? Nothing. Just agreeing. She studied me closely, as only a mother can. Grace, what's wrong? And don't say nothing. I know my daughters. For a moment, I considered telling her everything, letting her fix it like she used to. But some things can't be fixed. Some things have to be dismantled entirely. I'm fine, Mom, really. Just overwhelmed. She didn't seem convinced, but let it go. Well, try to enjoy yourself. It's a happy day. After she walked away, I ordered one more drink for courage, for resolve, and for the strength to finish what I had started. The music slowed, couples swaying on the floor, absorbed in their own moments. I spotted Darren. Back at our table, Darren was checking his phone, probably deleting messages. He'd been careless recently, though not entirely. The band leader tapped the microphone, calling for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom have a special announcement. James and Linda walked to the stage, hand in hand. Linda was glowing under the lights. We weren't planning to say anything tonight, James began, voice thick with emotion. But we're too happy to keep it in. The room went silent. We're having a baby, Linda announced. Applause and cheers filled the space. I studied Darren's face. He clapped and smiled, but there was tension, tight eyes, a clenched jaw. Was it jealousy, regret, or fear? My parents hurried to congratulate the couple, followed by other relatives. I stayed seated, watching reactions, noting who seemed genuinely surprised and who didn't. When things settled, I approached the stage. Grace, can you believe it? You're going to be an aunt, Linda said, hugging me. I felt a faint tremor in her body. Congratulations, I whispered. How far along? 8 weeks, she replied. We just found out last week. 8 weeks, 2 weeks after the engagement party, the night I'd found them on the porch. That's wonderful, I said, smiling. James must be thrilled. He is already planning the nursery. Sweet, unsuspecting James, planning for a baby that might not be his. When did you find out? I asked casually. About 2 weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, but with the wedding. Of course, I said. Your news to share. Darren appeared beside me. Congratulations, Linda, James, wonderful news. His tone was perfectly measured. Pleased, but not too pleased. Surprised, but not shocked. Thanks, Darren, James said warmly. Maybe you and Grace will be next. A short silence followed. Maybe, Darren said finally. I excused myself, claiming I needed air, but instead went to the bridal suite where Linda's belongings were kept. Her phone was on the dresser, charging. I knew her passcode sisters share everything. Except the most important things. She'd been careful. No texts to Darren. No obvious evidence. But she'd made a mistake, keeping photos in a locked folder, images from that night 2 weeks after the engagement party. In a downtown hotel room, the bedding, champagne, and her wedding binder were visible. She'd said she was meeting the florist that evening. The clearest photo showed both of them in bed, timestamped 11:47 p.m. At 11:52, Darren had texted me saying he was leaving the office. At 12:15, he came home smelling of hotel soap, not his usual body wash. I forwarded the photos to myself, deleted the trace, and replaced the phone exactly as it was. A bridesmaid entered, startled to see me. Just needed a quiet moment, I said smoothly. We returned to the reception, where celebrations were in full swing. During the father-daughter dance, I decided it was time. I found Darren at the bar. I want to talk privately, I said. His expression sharpened. Now, yes. Unless you'd rather I speak here. His face paled. What's going on? Terrace. 5 minutes. The terrace was empty. Darren arrived, composed. What's this about? How long? How long have you been with my sister? He hesitated. I have photos, I said. From that night 8 weeks ago, the night you claimed you were working late. His shoulders dropped. The engagement party. We were drunk. It happened again 8 weeks ago. That was supposed to be the end. We agreed it was a mistake. Is the baby yours? I asked. I don't know. She says it's James's, but the timing makes either possible. Explain how you accidentally had an affair with my sister while I helped plan her wedding. It's not like that, he said. I love you. I always have. Linda was different. The green eyes I'd fallen 4 years ago stared back at me. I knew it was wrong, yet part of me didn't care. Yes, I said, when he called me messed up. You're right. We stood in silence as the party inside went on, unaware of the storm brewing on the terrace. What are you going to do? He finally asked. I smiled, though not kindly. I'm giving my sister a wedding gift she'll never forget. Leaving Darren on the terrace, I went back to the ballroom. The celebration was in full swing. Crowded dance floor, drinks flowing, people relaxed. I found the band leader, slipped him $100 bill, and asked for one more toast to the couple. The band leader introduced me with flair. The room fell quiet as I took the microphone, my hands steady. I know I've already spoken, I began, but with the wonderful news about the baby, I felt I should say more. Applause and cheers followed. I waited for silence. Becoming a parent changes everything. It teaches you the value of honesty, being someone your child can look up to. Linda smiled from the head table, her hand resting on her stomach. James stood beside her, proud and protective. And I think it's wonderful that Linda and James are starting their family so soon, I continued. Although I let the word linger, I do wonder about the timing. Linda's smile faltered. 8 weeks ago, when this little miracle was conceived, was a busy time: wedding planning, work commitments, and secret meetings. The room shifted to uneasy silence. I remember that night clearly, I said. Linda, you had a late meeting with the florist at the Marriott downtown, remember? And Darren, you were working late too. Strange coincidence you both ended up at the same hotel. Gasps spread. Darren appeared in the doorway, pale. But I'm sure it's nothing, I added, voice sweet but sharp. Just an odd coincidence, although it might explain the morning sickness, whether from pregnancy or guilt. Grace, my mother's voice broke the silence. What are you doing? I'm telling the truth, I replied. Something in short supply in this family. James stood, looking between Linda and me. What is she talking about? Linda opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Tell him, Linda, I pressed. Tell your husband why you're not certain who the baby's father is. The champagne flute in James's hand shattered as it hit the floor. Chaos erupted. He stepped back from Linda, devastated. James, please, let me explain. Explain. His voice cracked. Explain that you slept with your sister's husband. That the baby might not be mine. Darren pushed through the crowd, torn between approaching me or Linda. Is it true? James demanded, grabbing Darren's lapels. Darren's silence was answer enough. James punched him hard, sending him to the floor, blood spilling onto the white tiles. James, stop, Linda screamed, but he was already leaving. My parents stood frozen, the photographer kept taking pictures, and the band had gone silent. You destroyed everything. Linda cried at me. How could I shot back. How could you? My sister, someone I loved more than anyone, slept with my husband. It was a mistake. We were drunk, and it just happened. Twice, I corrected. At least twice, I know of. How many other times? Darren got to his feet, holding a napkin to his bleeding nose. Grace, please, we need to talk. Talk. After months of lies. When exactly before or after you got my sister pregnant? Guests were leaving, whispering this would be remembered as the wedding that destroyed 2 marriages in one night. Good, let them know who Darren and Linda really were. My parents finally moved. My mother went to comfort Linda while my father advanced on Darren. I welcomed you into my family. Trusted you with my daughter, both daughters. Apparently, I added. My father punched Darren again. Daddy, stop. Linda cried. You betrayed your sister, your husband, and this family, he shouted. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said. But you meant to hide it, I said quietly. You meant to let James raise a child that might not be his. My mother was crying now. Girls, please, we're family. We can work through this. No, I said. Some things can't be fixed. The ballroom was nearly empty except for family and the stunned wedding party. What do you want me to say? Linda asked softly. I want the truth. She looked around before meeting my eyes. I fell in love with him, she whispered. It felt like a physical blow. So you took him because you wanted him. It wasn't like that. It's always like that with you. I snapped. My toys, my clothes, my friends, you always had to have what was mine. But this time, you went too far. I'm sorry, she sobbed. Sorry you did it. Or sorry you got caught. Darren stood again, his tux ruined and his face bloodied. He looked pathetic. This man I once thought was everything looked at me quietly. We should go, he said. Grace, let's just go home and talk. Home? I stared at him. You think we still have a home? You destroyed that the moment you chose her. I made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was a decision, many decisions, every text, every meeting, every lie. You chose those. I choose you, he said. I choose our marriage. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. What I want is a divorce. My voice echoed in the empty ballroom. And I want you out of my house tonight. Grace, be reasonable. I've been reasonable for months, when you worked late, when you were distant, when you reeked of her perfume. I'm done being reasonable. Linda stepped forward, her wedding dress dragging. What about the baby? If it's Darren's, you'll figure it out, just like you figured out how to seduce my husband. You're being cruel, my mother said. No. I'm being honest, something this family struggles with. I glanced at the wrecked reception, overturned chairs, untouched cake, abandoned drinks. I'm leaving. Don't follow me. I walked out, head high. But I wasn't finished. There was one more truth to reveal. At home, still in my bridesmaid dress, I went straight to Darren's office. I pulled files, financial records, bank statements, investments. 8 years of marriage had taught me where everything was. Then, I called his managing partner, Harold. The wedding's over, I said, and Darren's been charging hotel rooms for his affair to the company card. I have the statements. Email them, Harold said finally. Darren's career at Miller and Associates was over. Next, I logged into Facebook. Guests had already posted wedding photos. I created my own album, The Truth About the Perfect Wedding. Screenshots from Linda's phone, credit card statements, and a photo of Darren after James punched him. Caption: when the groom finds out his bride slept with her sister's husband. I tagged every guest, family member, and mutual friend, then shared. The next morning, pounding on my door woke me. My phone showed dozens of missed calls and texts. Grace, open up, Darren's voice called. When I opened the door, he stood there, still in his tux, face swollen, smelling of alcohol. You ruined my life, he said. No, you ruined yours. I just told the truth. Harold called. I'm suspended pending investigation. I have nowhere to go. Not my problem. 8 years and you throw it away over one mistake. 2 mistakes, at least. And you threw it away. What about forgiveness? What about not sleeping with my sister? He flinched. I never meant to get caught. I know. He blocked the door with his foot. The Facebook posts, you have to take them down. This is defamation. Then, sue me. You'll need a lawyer and money. Good luck with both after Harold's done with you. I shoved his foot away, slammed the door, and locked it. From the window, I watched him stumble to his car, likely heading to a hotel. He'd have to cover his own expenses this time. My phone rang. Linda. I let it go to voicemail. Then my mother called. Voicemail again. Finally, my father. I answered. Hi Dad, Grace. His voice sounded tired, almost defeated. What have you done? What I had to do. The Facebook posts. The whole town's talking. Your mother's beside herself. And Linda, how's the blushing bride? He sighed. James went to his parents' place. He's filing for an annulment on Monday. Smart man. She's devastated. Good dad. Don't good me. Grace, she made her choices. These are the consequences. And the baby. What about it? It's still your niece or nephew. Still family. Maybe, or maybe, it's my stepchild. We won't know until it's born, will we? This bitterness, it isn't you. Neither is being betrayed by my husband and sister. I guess we're all trying new things. He was silent for a long time. Your mother wants a family meeting to talk this through. There's nothing to talk about. Please, Grace, we're still family. No, my voice was firm. Linda and I are related. That's not the same as being family. Family doesn't do what she did. People make choices, and choices have consequences. I'm done protecting her. Done pretending everything's fine. Done being the good daughter who keeps the peace. What about Darren? What about him? He's getting divorced and probably losing his job. Sounds fair to me. This isn't you, my father said quietly. This vengeful person. It's not who you are. Maybe it's who I've always been. Maybe I just never had a reason to show it before. I hung up before he could answer. The house felt different, lighter somehow. Despite the heavy furniture and darker memories, I walked through each room with new eyes. This was my house now. Mine alone. In the bedroom, I stripped the sheets and tossed them in the trash. I ordered new ones online, expensive, the kind Darren would have called wasteful. In his office, I boxed up his things with clinical precision, law books, diplomas, even our wedding photo. Every box was labeled cheater in thick black marker. By noon, I'd cleared him from 3 rooms. By evening, the house felt almost clean again. Almost. 3 days later, I met my mother for coffee. She'd been calling nonstop, and I finally gave in just to stop the pressure. She looked like she'd aged a decade, hair limp, makeup minimal. The woman who'd always kept herself perfectly composed was unraveling. You look terrible, I said as I sat down. Grace, her tone, was reproachful, but weak. Just being honest. Isn't that the point now? Her hands shook as she stirred her coffee. Your sister is staying with us. How nice for her. She's devastated, cries all day, won't eat. Morning sickness will do that. Grace, please. She's your sister. She was my sister. Now she's just the woman who slept with my husband. She made a mistake. Stop calling it that. I slammed my hand on the table, making her jump. A mistake is accidental. What they did was deliberate, repeatedly. She loves him, my mother said quietly, and he loves her. I stared at her. Is that supposed to make it better, that they fell in love while betraying me? No, but nothing. Love isn't an excuse. It's not a free pass to hurt people. What about forgiveness, loyalty? What about trust? What about basic human decency? An elderly couple nearby looked over disapprovingly. I didn't care. I raised you girls better than this, my mother said, tears in her eyes. Did you? Because one of us turned out to be a homewrecker, and the other a fool who didn't see it coming. You're not a fool, no. Then, what do you call someone who helps plan her sister's wedding while she's sleeping with her husband? She reached for my hand. I pulled away. Holding on to this anger will only hurt you. Wrong. It's keeping me sane, strong. And it's keeping me from trusting the wrong people again. You can't go through life not trusting anyone. Watch me. We sat in silence, coffee growing cold between us. The baby, she said finally. What about it? It's innocent in all this. So was I. If it's Darren's, he can pay child support. If it's James's, that's between him and Linda. Either way, it's not my problem. It's your family. I don't have a family anymore. I have parents who enable their youngest daughter's destructive behavior and a sister who takes whatever she wants. That's not family. That's just people I'm related to. I left her crying at the table. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. The divorce lawyer's name was Sandra Lee. Ruthless, efficient, and expensive. Adultery is grounds for fault divorce in this state, she said, reviewing the evidence I'd brought. With this documentation, we can build a strong case. I want everything, the house, the cars, half his retirement. That's aggressive. He was aggressive when he slept with my sister. I'm just responding in kind. Sandra smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. I liked her instantly. We discussed Darren's suspension from work. Sandra noted that if he were fired, it could affect his ability to pay. Then we'd better move fast. I said, my thoughts exactly. We spent 3 hours strategizing. By the end, Darren would be lucky to keep the clothes on his back. Sandra asked, what about your sister? Any legal action there? Like what? Alienation of affection. It's still recognized in this state. I considered it suing Linda for destroying my marriage. It had a certain poetic justice. Maybe, I replied. Let me think about it. Don't think too long. Statute of limitations and all that. I left her office feeling powerful. For 4 months, I'd been the victim. Now, I was in control. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Grace, it's James. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment before replying. Corner calf. 1 hour. James looked as I felt, hollow, exhausted, aged by betrayal. He stood when I approached. Ever the gentleman, even in disaster. Thanks for meeting me, he said. We're members of the same club now, I replied. The cheated on spouses club. Benefits include trust issues and insomnia. He gave a bitter laugh. Don't forget, replaying every moment, searching for signs you missed. Were there signs? I asked. He nodded. Looking back, yes, the way she lit up when your name came up, how she always asked if Darren would be at family events. I thought she was just trying to connect with your family. She connected, all right. We ordered coffee to broken people, finding comfort in shared misery. The baby, he said finally. I don't know what to do. Do you want it to be yours? Yes, no, both. He rubbed his face. If it's mine, how do I raise a child with someone I can't trust? If it's not, then I'm free. Are you? Can you just walk away from someone you loved? I thought about it. Yes, it's hard, but yes. The person I loved never existed. He was a role Darren played. The real Darren. I don't love him at all. James stared into his coffee. She wants to work it out. Keeps calling, texting, saying it was just pre-wedding jitters. Do you believe that? I don't know what to believe anymore. Then, believe the evidence, the photos, the timeline, the fact she was willing to let you raise another man's child. He didn't answer, but I reached across the table and took his hand. You know, deep down, you know. He began to cry. I bought a crib the day after she told me. I was so happy. I squeezed his hand, silent. Sometimes words weren't enough. What are you going to do? He asked, once he'd composed himself. Divorce, Darren. Take everything I can. Start over, and Linda. She doesn't exist for me anymore. Just like that. Just like that. You're stronger than me, he said. No, I replied. I'm just angrier. 2 weeks after the wedding, Linda did something unexpected. She got a paternity test. My mother brought the news, showing up at my door uninvited. She wants you to know she's doing the right thing, Mom said, standing outside because I wouldn't let her in. The right thing would have been not sleeping with my husband. She's getting the test to know for sure. How responsible of her. The results will be back next week. I don't care. Yes, you do, my mother said quietly. You care so much, it's eating you alive. What's eating me alive is betrayal, not curiosity about my husband's child. That's your niece or nephew you're talking about. No, it's Linda's baby. Nothing to do with me. I shut the door. I was getting good at that. But she was right, I did care. I hated that I cared, but I needed that final piece of the puzzle. Darren had been served divorce papers the week before. He tried to fight them, but Sandra was too good. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer, a junior associate from his old firm, advised him to settle. You're lucky she's not pressing criminal charges for financial fraud. I overheard him say, financial fraud, a polite term for stealing from his company to fund his affair. The paternity results would determine how much child support factored into our divorce settlement. If the baby was his, he'd pay for 18 years. Part of me hoped it was his, the vindictive part that wanted him to suffer. Part of me hoped it wasn't the human part that didn't want a child tied to this mess. Mostly, I wished none of it had happened. The call came on a Tuesday, not to me, but news travels fast. In small towns, I was at the grocery store when I overheard 2 women in the next aisle. Did you hear about the Patterson girl? The paternity test came back. No. Whose is it? The husband's. The sister's husband. I abandoned my cart and drove home on autopilot. Darren was going to be a father after all, just not with me. The house was silent when I got there. I'd grown used to it, but it still startled me sometimes. Years of planning for children, and now he'd have one with her. I poured a glass of wine, sat on the porch swing where Darren had proposed 9 years ago, back when we were young and thought love conquered all. The phone rang. Sandra didn't bother with small talk. This actually works in our favor, she said. Child support obligations will reduce his. The available assets also reinforce the adultery claim, based on his previous income level, assuming he finds similar work. He'd owe about $3,000 a month for 18 years longer if the child attends college. That's over $500,000. Plus whatever additional amounts Linda might secure during the process. Good, I said. You sound calm, came the reply. I already suspected the child was his. Timing was too precise. Still, confirmation carries its own impact. It felt heavy, but I'd learned to mask it. What's next? I asked. We'll push for a quick settlement. With the affair, the fraud, and the child, he has no leverage. He'll agree to anything to end this. Then, let's finalize it. After I hung up, I stayed on the porch swing until sunset, thinking about the times Darren and I had talked about children, how he wanted a boy to play catch with, how I wanted a girl to braid her hair. Now he would have a child with my sister. While I was left with an empty house and the satisfaction of revenge, it no longer felt like enough. Linda came by a week later. I was in the garden pulling weeds when I heard her car in the driveway. I recognized the sound of her engine. I didn't look up when she approached. Grace, I kept working. Please, I need to talk to you. No, you need to feel better about yourself. That's not my responsibility anymore. I'm keeping the baby. Congratulations. It's Darren's. I know. He wants to be involved. How progressive. She was silent for a moment. I could feel her watching, likely taking in my unkempt hair and dirt-stained hands, the image of the once perfect sister unraveling. I'm sorry, she said. No, you're not. I am. I never meant you're sorry you were caught. Sorry there were consequences. Sorry your wedding was ruined and your husband left. But not sorry for what you did. That's not true. Did you think of me at all? I asked, finally looking up. She was wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, and the sight of it made me angry. When you were with him, did you think of me even once? Her silence was an answer. I loved him, she whispered. So did I. No, I mean I loved him years before you even met him. I stared at her. What? I first saw him at that bar downtown. I was going to talk to him, but then you came back from the bathroom, and he noticed you instead. I introduced you. I've loved him ever since. I tried to be happy for you, but that night at the engagement party, we were drinking. He told me I looked beautiful, and I was weak. Weak, I repeated. That's your excuse. I don't have an excuse. I just wanted you to know it wasn't meaningless. I love him, and he loves you. He says he does, but he loves you more. He wants to fix things with you. That won't happen. That ship has sailed. Grace, please. If you won't forgive me, forgive him. You two were so good. Together, were we. Because a man who was good with me wouldn't have been with my sister. Twice. It was more than twice, she said quietly. I closed my eyes. How many times? I'm not sure. A dozen. More. It went on for 2 months before the wedding. Get out, I said. Grace, get out. She left, and I returned to the garden, pulling up flowers along with the weeds. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Monday in October. Darren didn't contest. I kept the house, my car, half his retirement account, and a substantial settlement from our joint savings. He kept his personal belongings, his car, and lifelong child support obligations. We didn't speak during proceedings. Our lawyers handled everything. Anything you'd like to say before we conclude? The judge asked. Darren looked at me. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. Yes, I said, I did. 8 years of marriage ended in 20 minutes. Sandra walked me to my car afterward, umbrella in hand. How do you feel? Free, I replied, and I meant it. What's next? I'm not sure. Maybe travel, maybe school, something new. Good for you. You deserve a fresh start. I drove home my hometown, walked through rooms I'd redecorated, walls painted new colors, furnished with new pieces. The house no longer looked like ours. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother that Linda had given birth to a baby boy, 7 pounds 3 ounces. Both were healthy. I looked at the message for a long moment, then deleted it and blocked her number. That year, spring arrived, early crocuses pushed through the last snow in February. I was in the garden, my refuge and therapy, when a car pulled into the driveway. I didn't recognize the vehicle, but I knew the man who stepped out. James looked well healthier than when I last saw him. He had grown a beard that suited him, and his smile seemed genuine. "Grace, you look well." "Gardening works for me," I replied, removing my gloves. "What brings you here?" "I wanted to thank you for being honest at the wedding. It was painful, but you saved me from a worse fate living a lie." "Exactly," he paused. "I heard about the baby. Did you? Darren's been posting pictures on Facebook. Proud father. How nice for him." "You haven't seen them?" "No. I blocked everyone involved. It's easier." He nodded. I did the same. Started fresh new job, new city. I'm only back to finalize the house sale. Too many memories. You understand I do. We talked for a while about neutral topics: real estate, work, the weather. Then he said something unexpected. "I'm seeing someone, a teacher. Met her at a coffee shop in my new town. She doesn't know the whole story, just that I'm divorced." "That's probably wise." "Is it starting something new, without the full truth?" "It's not a lie. You are divorced. The rest is your business." He considered this. "Maybe you're right. I usually am," I said. "Just ask my ex-husband." We both laughed, dark humor, creating common ground. "What about you?" he asked. "Anyone new?" "No. I'm enjoying my own company, figuring out who I am without them." "And who are you?" "Someone stronger than I realize. Someone who values truth over convenience. Someone learning to be happy alone." That's a lot of growth in 6 months. It's been educational. He stood to leave, then turned back. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you regret it?" "Telling the truth at the wedding?" "No," I said without hesitation. I regret being put in that position, but telling the truth never. Even though it costs you everything. It cost me illusions. That's not the same as everything." He smiled faintly. "I hope I can see it that way someday. You will give it time." After he left, I returned to the garden. The roses I'd planted were budding new life from bare soil. Starting over wasn't easy, but it was possible. A year after the wedding, a letter arrived. I recognized Darren's handwriting. Part of me wanted to throw it away, but curiosity won. "Grace, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you blocked all other communication, but I needed to say this. You were right about everything. I was a coward, a liar, and a fool. I destroyed the best thing in my life for something that wasn't real. Linda and I are no longer together. We tried for the baby's sake, but it was a disaster. A relationship built on betrayal doesn't last. I see my son, yes, he's mine. Those green eyes are proof every other weekend. His name is Michael. He's perfect. And every time I look at him, I'm reminded of what I lost. The family we should have had. The life we planned. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know it's not possible. I just want you to know I understand now. I understand what I threw away and the depth of the hurt I caused. Some mistakes can't be undone. I hope you're happy. I hope you've found peace. I hope you've found someone who truly deserves you, because I never did. The house looks beautiful, by the way. I drove by last week, not stalking, just passing through, and saw your garden. You've always had a gift for making things grow. Won't contact you again. This is the goodbye I should have given you properly. You deserved far better than I gave. You deserved truth, loyalty, and love that put you first. I'm sorry I wasn't that man. Darren.P.S. Linda asked me to tell you she's sorry. She's in therapy now, trying to understand her actions. I think losing you broke something in her, maybe in both of us. I read the letter 3 times before carrying it to the fireplace. I watched as the paper curled, blackened, and turned to ash, drifting up the chimney. It didn't bring the satisfaction I'd imagined, nor the pain. It was simply nothing. Words from someone who had become a stranger, about people I no longer knew. My phone rang, an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Grace. This is Sandra. I have an interesting proposal. I'm working with a client facing something very similar to what you went through. Infidelity, family betrayal, all of it. She could really use the perspective of someone who's been there. Would you be willing to meet her?" Unofficially, of course. I thought about all those long nights when I'd wished for someone who understood. all the anger with nowhere to go. Yes, I said, I'll meet her. Wonderful, I'll arrange it. After hanging up, I looked around at the life I had, rebuilt the house that was mine alone, the garden blooming, the calm I had found in solitude. Maybe this was my path forward, not by erasing the past, but by helping others face their own betrayals, turning pain into purpose. It wasn't the life I once planned, but it was mine rooted in truth, not deception, and that was enough. The support group meets every Tuesday in the basement of St. Mark's Church. We call it Healing After Betrayal. I've been leading it for 3 years. Tonight, there's a new Faisé woman in her 30s, wedding ring still, on eyes swollen from crying. She reminds me of myself 5 years ago. Would you like to share? I asked gently. My husband, she begins, stopping to steady herself. My husband and my best friend. I caught them last week. They say it just happened, but it never just happens. Another member finishes. She nods, tears falling. 20 years of friendship, 12 years of marriage. How do I move past this? You don't move past it, I tell her. You move through it. There's a difference. When it helps, I share my story, the wedding, the revelation, the aftermath. How I destroyed what was left and rebuilt from the ashes. How revenge was satisfying for a moment, but healing brought lasting peace. Did you ever forgive them? She asks. No, I reply honestly, but I forgave myself for not seeing the truth sooner, for trusting the wrong people, for believing love meant never protecting myself. After the meeting, I drive home along familiar streets, past the church where Linda was married, the hotel where she conceived her son, the remnants of my old life. At a red light, my phone buzzes, a text from my mother. Our relationship is slowly mending, though it will never be the same. Michael's birthday party is Saturday. I know you won't come, but you're welcome. I delete the message without replying. Some bridges are better left burned. At home, a bouquet of flowers sits on my porch. No card, but I know they're from James. He sends them every year on the wedding anniversary. Maybe it's his way of saying thank you, or sorry, or both. I bring them inside, put them in water. My cranky tabby, Truth, weaves around my legs. Just you and me tonight, I tell her. She purrs, unmoved by human drama. I make dinner for one, pour a glass of wine, and sit on the porch swing to watch the sunset. The house is paid off, thanks to the divorce settlement. My garden flourishes. My life is quiet, peaceful, entirely my own. Sometimes I wonder what might have happened if I'd stayed silent at the wedding. Let Linda and James live in their version of happiness, or confronted Darren privately to try and salvage our marriage. But those are only what-ifs. Ideal. In truth now, the truth is they showed me who they really were. The truth is, I survived. The truth is I'm happier now than I ever was, pretending life was perfect. My name is Grace, and this is my story. Not a fairy tale ending, but an after. Just after. And sometimes, that's enough. Sometimes, that's everything.